Kalispera Nichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's not get off the Pottsy, but it is time for Arsenal to or get off the pots. Let's go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello. Good evening and welcome to the late broadcast today of the Highbury Squad. But when you have great guests, you go when they can. And thank you, Pottsy, for sending over some of your 12th men to Squad Central. Pottsy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. It's been too long. It always feels like it's long and gets longer. You know how life is busy. I know it's busy for yourself as well, but it's good to see that you've kept the Highbury Squad going with the squaddies. Big up to everyone in the house. Big up to everyone that's rated from 12th man. Thank you all so much. I recommend the show we just did. It was a serious cooking for a Man City fan, which, let's be honest, Soph, we haven't been able to do for quite some time. Let's be fair. So that was a good show, and pleasure to be here with yourselves as well. And I was at the game yesterday, so the last home game is done, and we've only got one more left to go for the season, and then it's the summer. So looking forward to this chat, man.
Yes, me too. And I don't know why the graphics just change whenever they want on StreamYard. I'll change that. But our Chief Like Officer in the house. Good evening, squaddies. At ease, everyone at ease. And thanks to those who've come over from Dan's show as well. We're not going to beat around the bush here. We're going to have a serious conversation. I've been absolutely obsessed with something, Dan, since it happened yesterday. And I cannot get it out of my mind, which is why the show title today is The Ones Upstairs. Now, I don't think this is by coincidence, this comment at all. I think it is, once again, super clever. I've got 5 great talking points for you, right? But I want to start with this one. I think that Mikel has started cooking himself and maybe cooking a little, Arteta and Berta. I thought the comment that he made in response to the question about the transfer market, the ones upstairs, he's talked before about wanting to sign players, wanting to sign quality players. He's talked about, and he did say that, the owners have always supported him and they want what's best for the club, etc. But the ones upstairs stuck with me because there were 2 things I thought of. Number one was he's very clever at deflecting accountability and responsibility and putting it back on the board or the owners, right? In a subliminal, very PR spinny kind of way. And by the way, I want Arteta to be around next season before you go, or any of you go off. You know how I feel about this. We're just having a conversation. The second is, has he officially lost the power, and has Berta been given the baton to run with this, Dan? I don't know how you felt about the comment. I've been looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it. What say you?
It was the most interesting comment of the day, to be honest, of his speech. A lot of people were frustrated, including myself, that he was kind of trying to use excuses as to why this season's had circumstances, as to how we've done amazing to finish second again, and that any other manager would not be in this position. Rah, rah, rah. I just found it very arrogant and distasteful in parts again. And obviously he said he wants to keep believing and the dream's still there and we want to be winning trophies, rah, rah, rah. But then he said the people upstairs need to do what's needed. Now, if you remember, every single season that he's got on that mic or that he's spoken in a press conference, it was we need to look at this. We need to look at how we can improve. Myself and Edu and Richard Garlick, we need to take a look at what we need to do. Now it's very much they. And that, to me, shows that the power has shifted. The Kroenkes have decided, in my opinion, to give the power to Arteta and Berta, which is absolutely 100% the right thing to do. Not because Arteta is a shambles by any means, because he's definitely brought in some good players. But out of the 31 that he has brought in, there's probably only 8 or maybe 9 that I look at and go, cool, yeah, top signing. that means there's over 20 that have been absolutely horrendously bad. That are either left the club already, that are leaving this summer through natural wastage, or just haven't been good enough and they still keep going out on loan, i.e. Vieira, Tavares, Lokonga, those type of guys, right? Some of them are gone, like the Pablo Maries and Cedrics and all the handful of goalkeepers and left backs that he's bought in the club in the last 5 years. And then some of them have been really good, like the Declan Rices, the Timber, the Parties, the Gabriels, etc. So I think he's had hits and misses. I don't think he's been given any more time now. I think he's had his time to go and do that kind of rebuild. And I think what they've decided is to go and get a proper sporting director that's got experience of winning and being that kind of brutal, ruthless guy that gets in the players and also sells players well, which I think is massively important. If you look at the bad signings that he has made, because he has made some, Andrea Berta, you could understand why he went for João Felix, because he was supposed to be the next biggest thing. He spent a hell of a lot of money on it, but then he sold him for a brilliant amount of money still. So when I look at stuff like that, that excites me. He is now aware that the power has shifted. And do you know what? Mikel Arteta has got a powerful voice at the club, and I think we'll have one. I think Josh Kroenke and Arteta are the two most powerful voices at the club. Andrea Berta now needs to be at that level, if not higher. And I think the level of importance of his voice needs to be absolutely huge in comparison to Mikel Arteta. For example, I want this guy. Nope, we're getting this guy. And then it's Andrea Berta who actually is listened to. He's the guy who's got his feet. No, you sort the pitch out, Mikel. Leave it to me. Your job is to get this team ticking. My job is to bring you the players in. That's what I think needs to happen now. And I think there was a level playing field with Edu and Arteta, and some believe that Edu went because that wasn't a level playing field in the end, and that Arteta's voice was stronger. I don't know if that's the case. I do believe that Berta's voice needs to be the strongest at the club from next season onwards.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on this one, because these voices are the voices that have together been the team that have, arguably, there's no doubt about it, some of the signings have transformed Arsenal, right? There's still a few that are there that were Emery signings, but, there's pivotal signings that they've made that have helped evolve the club. Even a January signing like Trossard was fundamental to kind of our final push, even though we didn't make it, in that championship wannabe year, Dan. These guys have been given the opportunity. This is what good corporations do. Everyone keeps telling me football's a business now, and the Kroenkes are businessmen. There's no doubt about that. And Tim Lewis is a businessman, okay? Richard Garlick is a businessman. Josh Kroenke has a multi-billion-dollar business. So it's a little bit like why some people maybe don't understand why Donald Trump was voted president of the United States, is because a lot of people see it as a business and they needed to get back on track. And so they hired a CEO, right, as president, whether you like it or not. That's my analogy. And Arsenal right now have to have, yes, a business brain, okay, but they need also to have the killer wolf, I'm going to eat your face off mentality about marrying the business with quality, right? This was my next point with you, which everything's going to kind of fall into one here, Dan. I don't think signings like Nico Williams, call me crazy, I don't think it takes us to the next level. And maybe I'm wrong about this, okay? But yes, he shone for Spain in the Euros, playing with Lamine Yamal. He's surrounded by so many great players, and perhaps if he was in a team of similar great players, he would do better. He fell off the wagon right off the wagon this season. Graham Hunter tells us he's still a great player on the show. You got to believe in him. What I want to see is, players like, we probably won't get a Rodrigo, right? But my point is, I don't even maybe want a Sesko when you can get a Gyökeres. So to me, it's like, you've got to be smart from a business point of view. I get it, because you need to spread the wealth. You're going to spend a lot of money, Dan. But if you want like for like, if you want to match Saliba, Big Gabby, Declan Rice, Saka, David Raya, the core of the team, you've got to go big or go home this summer. And you've got to get at least 3 world-class players if you want to win the Premier League or the Champions League. Your thoughts on that?
My thoughts align with your thoughts, bro. And I've got to say it, I don't know that it is an absolute fact that Nico Williams doesn't take us to the next level. That's just your opinion and my opinion, Soph, right? I'm with you. I don't think I look at that signing and go, we're ready. We're ready now. That takes us across the line. I don't know that it does. And if I'm honest with you, there's only one left winger that excites me, and it's Rodrigo. Now, there was two, but we decided to let the other one go to PSG and knock us out the Champions League because I wanted Kvaratskhelia massively, right? However, there was only Kvaratskhelia and a Rodrigo type that I would have looked at. When I look at the others, Lookman is up there. I look at Jamie Gittins, Nico Williams, Mitoma. Those type of signings for me are all on a similar bracket. They're all on a similar level. I don't think there's one there that I go, got to be him. I think they're all a little bit like, might need a little bit of work, all a bit more project players. None of them are ready right now. Some of them are Premier League proven, but it's still a huge step up. I think that what we might see is the likes of Sesko and Williams now turning into Gyökeres and Rodrigo. And if we do see that, which we all want, we'll know it's Andrea Berta that's done that. Because we've been trying to get Zubamendi, Sesko and Williams for the best part of 18 months. But if it's now changing all of a sudden, we'll know, well, Zubamendi's coming in because it's clearly been done before Andrea Berta walked in the door. And then obviously now the kind of target has shifted towards those names of Rodrigo and Gyökeres more so than Williams and Sesko. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to end up with Williams and Sesko. We still might. I've no idea. But for me, it looks now like we're looking towards other targets. And I think that's no coincidence that since he's come in the door, Andrea Berta, we're now looking at different targets. And it looks like, in my opinion anyway, those two targets are certainly more exciting and ready now than they are Williams and Sesko, which I'm sure would be great players in the next 3 or 4 years. But at 20 years old, I want someone who's ready now. And I don't know that Sesko is the ready-made profile. I don't know that Williams is much of an upgrade on Martinelli from what I look at. And then I look at what you've got with Gyökeres, who's an absolute bagsman, and Rodrigo, who I think would probably be the most exciting signing in the Arteta era. He would be our Ozil, Sanchez, Aubameyang type signing for me, because even when Wenger was here, people used to say, why is he not bringing in the players? He's trying to make stars like Fabregas and Van Persie. He's not buying them. When you look at it, Alexis Sanchez was bought from Barcelona, Ozil was bought from Real Madrid, and Aubameyang was bought from Dortmund. Apart from Declan Rice, who, I mean, was a great signing, come from West Ham. Who else has been like that? Wow, how the hell has Arteta got him? We haven't had that yet, and I think that we need that marquee signing. And for me, Rodrigo's there to be snapped up. Now, I'm not saying he's going to leave, but certainly if Real Madrid are going to be looking at getting rid of a casualty, they ain't getting rid of Vinny Jr. or Mbappe. It's going to be him, and I think that's the guy we've got to go and get, man. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I put this up, on Last Monday Madness show, right? And I think this applies to Arsenal on and off the pitch. And of course, I did, put an asterisk, don't please eat anyone's faces off. But be a fucking wolf, be a fucking lion, take no shit, set goals, smash them, eat people's faces off, be a better person, show people who the fuck you are, never apologize for being awesome, stay. I'm going to get in trouble now because I've been swearing so much. Thank you. I apologize, Sports Podcast Network. But Gilberto Silva, Dan, who I spoke to a couple of summers ago, was talking to me about how he loved the Mikel combination because they were able to transmit the Arsenal experience. They were able to transmit some.
Oh, I've lost you, Soph. You're back now. You're back now. No, I can't hear you, Soph. I can't hear you, Soph. Can you let me know in the chat if that's me or Sophie? Is your sound, Soph? I can't hear. Let me chat to her in the chat. She's still going, bless her. I can't hear you, so your audio is gone. Come out, come in again. Come out, come in again. Bless her. There we go. No more echo now, guys. Thankfully, there's no more echo because that was driving me insane. Look, I think what Soph's talking about there in relation to what she's putting up, and there's a lot of swearing there, and I never hear Sophie swear, if I'm honest with you. So that one's quite surprising. I did not expect Sophie to swear. It's quite funny that she did, though. Even I have heard her swear before, to be fair, but not as many times as that. But look, hopefully you can all hear me and the audio is cool, and hopefully it isn't my end. But look, we're in a scenario where Andrea Berta's coming in and times for change. And I remember when people were protesting saying time for change. It was never a Kroenke out or a Wenger out thing back then. I know it became that in the end, but to start with, it was time for change. Maybe that's the change that's needed. I believe personally it should be a manager change, but there's some that are saying that it might not have to be that. If Andrea Berta comes in, I don't think there's any excuses if things are working in the way we expect Andrea Berta to. If Andrea Berta provides Arteta with the tools, there's nowhere to hide. And as much as some of the people like myself and others are saying, I think I'm done in terms of the manager, I do feel like there's absolutely nowhere for hiding one more year when he gives him the tools. So that's what I hope happens. Soph, can you hear me now?
Well, yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you went all underwater and no one could hear you. I don't know what was happening.
What the hell happened? At what point? At what point did I lose you?
You put it up, the graphic up, and spoke about it, read it all out, and then I just didn't hear anything after that. And you were just
right.
Doing this, basically, and I was like, what was it? So talk to me.
But basically, I think that we have lacked that attitude and mentality, right, to be killer winners, right? Yeah. ABC always be closing, Alec Baldwin from Glengarry Glen Ross. The mentality, the spotlight is when we kind of have been shrinking. Somehow we go out and we batter Real Madrid 5-1. No expectations, Dan, right? Zero. Then the PSG game comes and we go with the hype videos and with all the PR and the spinning and stuff like that. I think we need to just go down and dirty. Stop talking, right? Just quietly be a freaking wolf and a lion and eat people's faces off. I just think we need to adopt an attitude of, just fearlessness in a sense where maybe in the spotlight and in the moments where we need to do things, we're more fearful.
Let me tell you what has been the most frustrating thing for me in the last 5 years. The fact that it's a lot of talk and no trousers. There's no action whatsoever at the football club. It's just, we'd like to do this. We're going to try this. We're looking at this phase. We're only in phase 3. There's 2 more phases to go. The process is almost done. We're looking at our project and plan to go through this, that, and the third. We've got a dog now that's called Win. We want to try and install this mentality that it's this, guys, and we're going to go and we're going to fucking go, guys, and we're going to squeeze lemons into jars and pickpocket our staff, and we're going to blast out "You'll Never Walk Alone" on Anfield speakers. How about just go and bloody win me a trophy? I don't care if it's a Carabao Cup. Go and win me a damn trophy. Go and show me that you got the mentality that when you go to a semi-final against Liverpool and Newcastle, you don't go and put in the performances we did, and do not score a goal in a semi-final. You don't go and smash Real Madrid when there's no expectation and go and put in a pitiful home and away performance against PSG. You don't go into the scenario where you have 5 years without an FA Cup, and since you've lifted the damn thing, have won 2 games in 5 years against Oxford and Palace. That is not the mentality I want at the football club. We need to get across the line. So don't go and put in a pitiful performance against Manchester United, 10 men Man United, that are the worst Man United you've seen in a while, with a ridiculous manager who doesn't look good enough, and go and lose to them on penalties. You don't go out to Newcastle the way you did, and you go into a title race without ever being into one. Because let's be real, they lost tonight, and we're still miles behind them. So I don't think that's the mentality that's needed. And people will laugh at that and go, I ain't waiting 5 years for a Carabao Cup, bro. Well, at least this team that he's put together and has assembled can say they've got winning mentality. At the moment, they can't. The players that have won stuff at the club are all leaving. Tierney's off. He's won stuff. Jorginho's off. He's won stuff. Kai Havertz, I think, is the only one that allows lift a major. No one else has. I think Gabriel has played Champions League football, but other than that, they're all pretty new to it. So if I'm honest with you, I find it very frustrating. And I've got to be honest, I do not believe the mentality has been good at the club for a while because it's so young, Soph. It's all new. They're naive. They've not won together yet. And I think that when people poo-poo oh my God, that team was a mess. Well, that team that was a mess, and I would agree with you, needed upgrading, and we have upgraded on it. That team won an FA Cup, got to a Europa League final. I know we got battered in Baku, but we did. We got to a League Cup final against Man City. I know Mustafi was a disgrace. That team got itself into somehow a title race with Leicester and come second when Spurs come in the three-horse race. In that time, it got to a Europa League semi-final against Atletico Madrid. I'm sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, the last 5 years was actually more successful than this 5 years. So they had mentality to at least do that. They won stuff. They've won FA Cups. They won and got 2 finals, right? They were a point away from top 4. They a game away from winning a League Cup and a Europa League. These lot, I've got to a couple of semi-finals and ain't scored a goal. Oh, they did score a goal because PSG gifted us one and Saka put it in. So finally we scored a goal in a semi-final. We've got no FA Cup fight. We've got to no finals under this manager since he lifted the FA Cup. I just feel now it's time to deliver. There's no more give it time. There's no more patience needed. There's no more excuses. And that's where the mentality comes in, because strong mentality, they don't go and get battered in semi-finals against Newcastle. They don't lose in FA Cup games against Man United at home with 10 men. They don't go and throw the league away at Aston Villa at home. They don't go and get battered X, Y, and Z by certain teams. I think for me, it's time now to deliver. And the mentality is a huge question mark. Manager and players, by the way, that's both.
Yes. I think, I use this analogy quite a lot. Tiger Woods used to beat golfers before they'd set up on the first tee because he just intimidated them mentally. He'd won. And I remember, even Super Kev, when he'd talk about the old teams in the tunnel, he said you could sense they were shitting bricks, before a ball was even kicked. And you see that with the Man United teams and Roy Keane, and you've got Ferdinand and Vidic as well, and even City at their peak with Pep. And I think that we were getting to another intimidation factor. That picture of, maybe it was last season, of David Raya, Big Gabby, Saliba, and Benjamin White, where they're just staring at the opponent in the tunnel. And I felt like we were building this intimidation factor again. People were actually starting to feel a little bit spooked about playing us, right? You've got that Benjamin White Cucurella moment where he's just looking at him like he's dirt in the end of his shoe. Bad ass boy, the dark arts reinfused with, say what you want about Kai Havertz. He's very clever on the pitch, little digs here and there. Same with Benjamin White. And it felt like those 2 seasons, especially last season, we had got a little bit of that edge back. Now, Warren Barton was on the show the other day, and I think, and call me crazy, and by the way, again, asterisks, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mikel can do with Arteta and Berta next season. If he brings in world-class players and it's still the same thing, then I think you know where the problem lies. But I'd like to see what they do together. With that said, I had Warren Barton on, and I asked him about Peter Schmeichel's comments about Mikel on the touchline. Now, listen, I'm Greek. I love passion. I love emotion, but I don't think you can get too emotional. And I think Mikel gets a little bit too emotional, and he transmits that. What I was going to tell you when I got cut off about Gilberto Silva, when I spoke to him, he was talking about how Edu and Mikel can transmit something to the players. If you've played for Arsenal, won the badge, been on the battleground. But he also talked on TalkSport a few days ago about the angry and getting angry, which is why I then put that image up to share with you. And Peter Schmeichel said if he was an outfield player and he saw his manager continually bellowing and doing, which it's not just Mikel, a lot of modern day managers do that. We've talked previously, Dan, about football becoming a little bit robotic, right? He said it would put him off, but it also would make him question things. And then when Warren was on, he agreed. I asked him, do you agree with that? He goes, yeah. He said, what it would make me do is it put me in 2 minds. And I think, like Real Madrid, he was still doing that, but I put that down to no hype going in against the Kings of Europe. Nobody was expecting it. And literally it was, let's just play and see what happens. And if we beat them, great. PSG, expectations went up. Most people had us as favorites. I don't know why against that PSG team. All of the hype we crumble. But then in the game, I think that we lose that edge because he's micromanaging the game, Dan. I've gone a roundabout way of asking you, do you feel like in those big moments when it matters, he needs to take a little bit of a step back and let the players play?
100%. I've said for some time that I think he's micromanaging the players. I've said for some time that he's chopping and changing season by season how we play football. He has got 4 characteristics, traits that could be seen as incredibly positive and incredibly negative. And unfortunately, the 4 traits are quite negative this season. Arrogance is one trait he's got. Now, people might think that's always negative. Sometimes it can be positive. Thierry Henry was extremely arrogant, but he absolutely delivered.
Still is.
Yeah, still is. Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi aren't exactly humble. I mean, they're very arrogant people because of what they've achieved in the game, right?
Yeah.
When you look
Messi's a teddy bear. Messi's a teddy bear with a shotgun. Go on.
Yeah, right? And I love him, by the way. But when I look at Arteta, I see an arrogant person. That's one trait that he's got, and he's not using that well, in my opinion. He's also very stubborn. He's got no trust in the players. He doesn't want to try something different. Now, I don't want Ethan Nwaneri now. He needs a rest. He's not working hard enough off the ball or whatever it is he's decided he don't like about Ethan now. Now, Raheem Sterling, he's my son, but I ain't playing him. I ain't changing the system. I ain't changing this. I ain't going to go and try and play this way. He's got PTSD. Now, that can be a positive. People think that's a negative thing. That can actually be a positive because it's like, well, I've got PTSD for that, so I'm not going to make that mistake again, but I am going to go do this. He's got so much fear, which is his other 4th characteristic, that he does not want to change it up because he's so worried about losing a game or conceding a goal that what he's ended up doing, Sophie, is losing the game and conceding a goal because he's so worried about it, overthinking it, right? Now, when he went in 22-23 and played that unbelievable style of football, which is still one of the best football that I've seen, even watching Arsenal in all the eras I've watched us, it was beautiful football at times. It was scintillating. We were blitzing teams. We got to 8 points clear and we threw it away. Now, instead of saying, crikey, what we need to do now is get these 4 or 5 players in that's needed, make us a little bit tighter in strength and depth in defence, get us a replacement for Xhaka, go and get that proper striker and we can go again. He went, nah, screw it all up. Ain't doing that again. What we have to do now is go and be robotic and very rigid and lack all fluidity and creativity. And we'll try and win 1-0s, 1-0s, 1-0s. Then he got to the back end of the season and thought, I've got to be pretty much faultless here to win this league. And we started blitzing teams. 5s, 6, 5s, 6, West Ham 6, Burnley 6, Sheffield United 6. And then he got to Villa and we threw it away, right? And then we come into this season and we couldn't even get started trying to be creative. We've had nothing at all other than set pieces. Set piece FC LA was what people were singing. And people were saying it's Tony Pulis football, it's Stoke City FC. And do you know what? To start with, when we were beating Manchester City, when we were beating Aston Villa and we got to the Man City game, we beat Spurs, we didn't lose to Atlanta. We had all these players, all these games coming up thick and fast. I'm thinking, I don't actually mind doing that because we're winning 1-0, we're not losing games, and we're playing that style to get through that horrible set of fixtures, and then we go. But we never went. We had Leicester, and we ended up beating them 4-2 with 2 minutes to go. We were poor. Southampton, yeah, we beat them, but they scored first and were clearly better side in the first half because we were so rigid. And it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. And we lost to Bournemouth, and we lost to Newcastle, and we couldn't beat Chelsea, and we lost to Inter Milan, all in these cluster of games. And I'm thinking, when are we actually going to get started here? So I think we didn't really get started throughout the whole of it. So his style has been very, very micromanaged. Don't express yourself. Come back, pass it back to Ødegaard. Don't pass it forward. Come back again. Partey needs a kick yet. Rice needs a kick now. Rice, don't drive forward too much. Come back. Partey's got to start the balance again. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? Martinelli, get back. Get back. It's not go forward and express yourself. Get back. So I found it very hard to watch. I've been bored this season. The majority of the games I haven't been entertained. And yesterday I was sat with judges in a different seat. So I was up in club level with him. I normally on flag, and I have never seen ever Mikel Arteta as close up as I have. And I think he must be like wringing his clothes out with sweat because the guy does not stand still. He literally is animated, manic. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm all for a little bit of passion and a little bit of like the manager's feeling the vibe and he's getting behind us. But that would stress me the hell out if I'm a player. Let me be real with you. Just possible. Get out. Oh, hang on. What? Oh, hang on. Yeah, get rid of it. Oh, I've got to do that. That would what I would do personally. Now, I'm not saying the players would do that, but if this guy's screaming at me, yeah, and like, I'll be like, what does the manager want us to do here then? Because I'm trying to control the ball and he wants me to, is it a hot potato, this ball? Like, let's just calm, relax. You know, does Carlo Ancelotti do this? Does Arne Slot do this? Does, you know, the new managers of the modern era do this? I don't see it. They've all given their instructions, cross the white line. It's up to you. I'll do what I can, but you go do your thing. Go express yourself. And I felt like the team were allowed to express themselves a bit more a couple of years ago. Now, I just don't know, man, if I'm honest. So that's where I'm at, really, with Mikel and micromanaging. It's too much, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we always have a respectful chat here at Highbury Squad, so let's keep it respectful. Luke Shaw, I may have accidentally banned you. I've tried to put you on a timeout, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, we like people being on their best behavior. Okay,
I don't care what they say.
So the thing about like the touchline stuff, I do think there are a lot of modern day managers that do that. Arne Slot is probably the coolest customer. I mean, he's lost it a few times this season, yeah, but he is such a cool customer when it comes to, and I think, made Liverpool better. I think he's made them a lot more solid at the back. They have a blend of a little heavy metal, but they also have some pop rock in them this season as well. So my big question is that, let's say, you know, this guy, I know you, Albert, you've been huge fans of Gyökeres for quite some time. I think for me, he gets the edge over Sesko. He seems to have the physicality. He's got quick feet. He's good in the air. He can score bangers. He seems to be the complete player. This would be like a dream signing, another statement signing, like a Declan Rice, you know, in Rodrigo. I don't know if that happens. You've got Arteta Berta, who worked with Diego Simeone, and from people around and in the industry that, you know, I have spoken to, Berta has kind of said that he never took any shit from Simeone, and you know that he's not going to take any crap from Mikel Arteta. Dan, he is not built that way. Okay, nope. And he and Diego Simeone have built a lot together and got along, and they've also clashed and had mega moments, right? And you mentioned some of the buys, like Felix was a disaster, but then he gets X for him. He's good in the market, buying and selling. Like, if you don't let this guy cook, then you've hired the wrong guy. So let's say he goes and he gets players to match. Well done, Saliba, on your 100 appearances. You've got David Raya in goal now. You've got Declan Rice, who for the last 4 months has just been on fire, has been our best player, just led from the top to the back to everywhere. He's just been sensational. And of course, you know, the prodigal son in Bukayo Saka as well. Let's say he goes and gets all of those players, Dan. What if he plays the same way that he has this season? Now, there were some squaddies in the chat saying maybe it will change, you know. Does the director of football really have an influence on how the manager plays? No, you usually buy players to fit a system. But you can't bring in, if you have Gyökeres this season and we were playing the way we were, you have Kai Havertz this season. Maybe I'm being naive. Does anything change? And I'm asking that from the perspective of a fan who's not as super smart on tactics as most people, but I say what I see, and what I saw this season, I'm like, if we had X player in this team right now, do they have the freedom to play popcorn football?
Look, this is probably the biggest concern that Arsenal fans have right now. Unless, of course, you think the manager is the best thing since sliced bread and that Arsenal are going to go and win everything in the next 5 years, which I have my doubts about and question marks, right? I don't know a striker he's got the best out of yet. The only attacker he's got anything out of is Bukayo Saka. That might be harsh on Martinelli and Trossard potentially, but they've been very inconsistent in the last couple of seasons, in my opinion. Jesus and Havertz, they've done their job when they've called upon, but they haven't got us to anywhere near the amount of goals that's needed. I need a 20 or 30 goal season striker. Jesus, I think, is injury prone, but when he has played, has got to about 10 in a season. Havertz, I think, this season is our top scorer on 9 goals. After that, I think it's Marino and Martinelli. Poor, Soph. Very, very poor. Add to the players that have left since then. You can look at Sterling this season, he's got nothing out of him. Willian, he got nothing out of. You can also add the likes of Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe. I'm struggling to see where he gets the best out of his strike force. Now, if you put Rodrigo and Gyökeres and Saka as a front three with Ødegaard behind, and you tell me that you can't get them firing, I think we all know what the problem is, and it's the manager. Now, I don't think that will be to put Rodrigo and Havertz Gyökeres into this side ahead of Havertz and Martinelli. I don't know that we win the league, but I certainly believe that we score more goals, and I think that we bury our chances that we've created and missed. I think Kai Havertz missing from 1 yard, closing his eyes with his edge, going for a header, and missing from a yard against Man United and Newcastle. For me, I don't think Gyökeres misses that. Does that win us the league? No, but it keeps us in those competitions for a bit longer. I do feel like there's a massive, massive couple of gaps in this first 11, and I'm looking for him to do that. And people say we just need to get that striker. We need a hell of a lot more than a striker, people. Let's be real. He definitely needs a striker. Absolutely, he does. And he definitely needs another winger. I feel like there's so many more spaces there. Now, if he does start to fill them and Arteta Berta provides him with the tools, he's got no hiding ground if we don't start winning games and scoring goals. What I think we need to do is we need to go back to the 22-23 season where we were actually being quite expressive and actually going and playing free-flowing football. And if he can't do that, I don't know that he can stay much longer after that. So if I really don't, because for me, he's got to deliver next season. He had to deliver this season for me, but next season, I think everybody agrees. Paul Merson said he's got till Christmas. You've got Pottsy, Thierry Henry, Roy Keane, all these pundits that I actually really respect because they say it how it is. They're not trying to cling on to their jobs at the club. They'll say it how it is. Boom. He needs to deliver. He needs to deliver. Talk sport now. He's got to deliver. We've got to win stuff. Everybody's probably on the same page for the first time ever in the history of Arsenal under Arteta. He's got to win a trophy this season. And if he doesn't, he's got to go. And it's quite simple now. It's black and white.
What did you think of when he was at the Arsenal Vision Ask Blog event? He was asked a question about, I can't remember the question, but it's probably about winning, etc. And his response was, "Be patient. We're doing our best. We're trying our best." So remember the Gilberto Silva comment I made at the top of the show, the wolf picture, because to me on the sidelines, he's acting like a lunatic, right? Which part of me loves. And I'm not sure that was the right message to send, Dan, because listen, you could be an Arteta in or Arteta out. You can be impatient as a fan or patient. It's up to you. Everyone knows the rules here. As long as you're not misogynistic, racist, or homophobic, you can think and have an opinion and express it about the club that you love. But to tell fans to be patient at this point, I know we had injuries. I know we had some refereeing decisions go against us. It's down to the club to be prepared for those injuries, to have players be able to come in. He's also responsible for that, right? He's shifting the blame or the narrative upstairs, right? When really fans who think he's not been involved in transfers or had a say in things, I think that's a little naive because he very much has. He has a lot of power at the club. So asking fans to be patient this weekend, I thought, considering how good he is at spinning things, and that's a compliment, I thought that was a little off, Dan.
How do I make this analogy make sense? If I would invited you over some food.
What are you cooking?
I'll cook you a steak dinner, right?
All right.
So
lovely.
I'll cook you a steak dinner and you say, yeah, when's dinner ready? Oh, just be patient, so just be patient. Then 2 hours later, you say, any sign of that steak? That just be patient, just be patient. 6 years later, you're still waiting for that steak to come to have a bit of food. And I say to you, can you just be patient, please? Brother, it takes you 6 minutes to cook a steak, not 6 years. Yeah. If you tell me to be patient, anybody one more time, it ain't been 6 years. It's been 21 without a bloody Premier League, right? 21. Yeah. I'm 37 now. Yeah. So when people tell me be patient, it drives me absolutely insane. There's two things that drive me insane with what people say. That be patient is one of them. And if he goes, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get? Because there's no other managers that exist in this world, right? When there's a striker, everyone wants a striker. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get? Well, they tell you a list of strikers then. When the manager is, with no one else, who are you going to get? So don't get that one, and I don't get be patient, because Arsenal fans have been bloody patient. Bloody patient, yeah? We've been patient. We've been trusting a process. We've been patient with the process. We've been patient with the phases, which don't exist, by the way. No other club has phases, but we do, apparently. We've been patient with this, that, and the third. 21 years without a Premier League title, over 30 without any form of European trophy or League Cup, and now over 5 without an FA Cup. We've just in that time seen Glasner win an FA Cup with Palace. We've seen Eddie Howe win a League Cup with Newcastle. We're about to see one of Amorim Orange win a bloody trophy. And we're about to see potentially Maresca win one, all within less time than Mikel Arteta. So when people say be patient, it takes time to win trophies, it is absolute BS, right? Absolute BS. Be patient is something that I hear a lot of people tell me. When my manager is telling me after 5 years of winning nothing to be patient, after him spending over £700 million, that is real nasty taste in my mouth, if I'm honest with you. I didn't like it. I also didn't really understand, and I appreciate everyone at Arsblog and Arsenal Vision, why he is getting that sort of reception is absolutely beyond me. I didn't know if he was coming to collect a BAFTA. I didn't know if he was coming to get an Oscar. I didn't know if he just won a treble. We're hearing singing songs, that stupid, horrendous song. He knows exactly what we need. Tierney at the back. Well, Tierney's gone. Gabby in attack. Well, he's gone as well. What is going on here? Like, let's just be real. Like, why are we... I've never seen any much protection for a man in my life, man. Like, this guy does not win stuff. He's been 5 years without a trophy, and he's telling us to be patient. What are you waiting for, Mikel? What were you being patient for? I've been very patient as an individual fan, but trust me, I would say that the majority of our fans have had to be patient. So I'm sorry, man. I can't deal with that at all. That was a mad thing. And do you know what? Just quickly, that's one of the most crazy. That's one of the 4 or 5 crazy quotes I've heard from him in the last few months or weeks. Because when he tells me over my dead body, am I giving up on this league? And then 2 weeks later, he can't win a game. Yeah. And then he says that Liverpool they're very lucky champions because they finished on less points than we have in the last 2 years, when they can actually go and equal it from what we can look at in the next 2. Then you look at the scenario that he said about PSG. We went out, he disrespected Luis Enrique and that team by saying we're the best team in the competition. Well, listen, numbskull, we're out. Yeah, the other 2 are better than us because they're definitely better than us. So now he's come out and said, be patient. I wonder if he's starting to lose the plot a bit, if I'm honest. Or pressure's getting to him, because you say silly things when that happens, and he's saying very silly things.
I think the pressure is, I think since the arrival of Berta, his behavior in the presses has changed a lot. By the way, Mark said that you're cooking a dry aged steak, and Donna Potts put in and reminded me of the satisfied. Don't be satisfied with second. Yeah. And that's kind of a couple of things before I get you out of here is, he's the one that told us, don't be satisfied. He stood there in front of a stadium full of fans and also many millions of fans listening around the world and told us, don't be satisfied. So when you question the fact that you don't have any satisfaction, and I think Mark said it well, if he'd have just said, I know that you have been patient, but our goal is to win
100%.
trophies, right? It's
100%.
as good as they are at the PR. Sometimes it's like, think about what you're saying to a group of fans, and then you say that, well, I want to win now, and then you're labeled like a hater, or you want Mikel out, which I'm not at all. But I do question, well, you told me last season not to be satisfied, so why can't I question you now, Dan, on that? And I don't know if you saw the show that I did with Harry. I wanted to get your take on it. It actually started on, I did a show I think it was last week I did it. And it was asking if Mikel Arteta has a disciple, if Arsenal have a disciple fan culture, and if Mikel Arteta is the evangelist. And it was a genuine exploratory discussion about supporting the club. Of course, you support the manager and the players, but this notion and this idea that still exists, whereby I'm going to get so many comments now saying you flip flop, you're a hater, you had Dan Potts on, da 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 da. What is your take on that? Because then Harry invited me and said I thought it was a really interesting discussion, and he used the word cult in the title, and obviously it went off, right? Some people were like, you guys, and Harry's been like, I'm coming on and doing X, Y, and Z. It just, to me, proved a point that maybe the dialogue that I started actually might be right.
So what was hilarious about that was, is there a cult? The answer, it was answered. It was answered. You didn't have to speak. You didn't have to do the whole of that podcast, by the way. You could have just put that title up on Twitter and asked that question up on Twitter, and it would have been answered. That's what would have happened. The reaction from that is absolutely mind-boggling for me. And that proves to me that there is a huge cult at Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. And I've never seen anything like it, if I'm honest with you, bro. Look, I've got to be honest. I don't hate Mikel Arteta like some people think I do. I don't know the geezer, right? I couldn't give a damn who our manager is. I don't care if it's Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, or Jack Hobbs. If you win stuff for me, I'm going to appreciate you, which is why I loved George Graham and Arsene Wenger when they were winning stuff, right? For me, Mikel Arteta has not provided me those memories like Arsene Wenger and George Graham have, so he's not seen in the same light as that. Has he done a good job? Absolutely. Absolutely. I praise him for getting us challenging again. But we don't want to be challenging and coming second or third every year. We want to be winning. But unfortunately, there's a lot of the fan base that seem to believe that Mikel Arteta is more important than Arsenal Football Club. And that is something I just cannot understand whatsoever. That people would rather sacrifice trophies to build a CV for a man that used to play for us. That is what I see when people go, who are you going to get? Put some respect on his name. There's nobody better than him. He is 100% the best looking manager we know. All this crap I hear, just go and win me a damn trophy, please. That's all I'm asking. I just want to win a trophy and say this club that you've had the pleasure and privilege of managing has won something under you, because I want you to win everything because you're Arsenal manager. People think I hate Mikel Arteta. I don't hate Mikel Arteta at all. There's a lot of stuff I think he's done good. There's a lot of stuff he frustrates the hell out of me with. And I was like that with Arsene Wenger. But how can we as a fan base start saying there isn't a cult under this guy when we were hounding out a manager after 22 years that won an unbelievable amount of trophies, 7 FA Cups, doubles, invincibles, got us to that Champions League final, which if this manager did, by the way, people would want a statue for him even if he lost it. Yeah. How can we in the last 5 years say that was an awful 5 years and compare it to this brilliant 5 years we've had when we won less? So we're over halfway for the 9-year trophy drought that we absolutely handed him out for. I don't get it, Soph. I do not, and I never will understand what is so magnificently beautiful about this 5-year journey. Because I celebrate doing that, and we ain't done that enough.
This is why I think he's a very intelligent guy, right? I believe, and I say this in the spirit of which I'm saying this, I think he's a football evangelist to a lot of Arsenal fans, because he saved the club when it was on its knees. He wasn't the only one. Adu doesn't really get enough credit for it. And there were people behind the scenes as well who did a lot to support him to be able to do those things. They gave him the power to do those things. And I think that the power has become a little bit too much control. Like, should he be deciding when North London Forever is played? Should he be deciding and telling the DJ that you can't play that song because it's disrespectful? I would rather he focused on what's going on the pitch and the players, and having a really strong entertainment director who's worked in the entertainment industry for Fox or Paramount, who's able to kind of marry the culture with what's happening on, the pitch and in the dressing room and players and being like-minded. That I believe that one of the problems this season, and we'll end on this one, is that we're manufacturing a message. Now, every brand, every football club, whether you're Coca-Cola, Arsenal, or Barcelona, you need a message, right? You need a culture. And eventually, football, you develop evangelists, ambassadors, disciples, all of this type of stuff. It's tribal. But a lot of that in football that we grew up with and experienced, Dan, was organic. It was natural. Fans were the ones creating the songs on the terraces, and to an extent, they still are. Fans were the ones kind of, organizing certain things outside the stadiums and things like that. And I just feel that a lot, we're too produced. And that's what leads to having this evangelical persona, because he controls a lot of that. And the club have given him all the power, which I think was important at a time. But I believe as we evolve and we need to win, the power needs to go back to the fans a little bit. I still stand by the fact that I know that there was discourse, but Ashburton had just as much to do with the in-stadium vibe and atmosphere as Mikel did. They were the ones that inspired the fans and spurred that on. And sometimes someone comes in a relationship when you break up and you're like, they're the rebound or the bounce back, and they help you get out of the mire and they make you get your self-esteem back and your self-confidence. They make you believe in yourself again. Doesn't mean that they're the person you're going to marry. It means that they were the person of that time. And I'm not saying Mikel is of that time or he's Brendan Rodgers, but next season will prove that. And I don't know what you feel about all of that.
Yeah, I agree with you, particularly in the last part. Is he our Brendan Rodgers, or can he turn into a Jurgen Klopp? I think is the big answer, because it's not just Brendan Rodgers and Jurgen Klopp's examples. I think Curtis used a really good couple of examples where Claudio Ranieri was doing quite a good job at Chelsea, but they needed Jose Mourinho, right? I think that Pellegrini was at Manchester City and they were quite happy with his double win in his first season, but they realised that Pep Guardiola was the guy to go and dominate the world football. That's what Manchester City did in the last 5 to 6 years. I think when you look at what's happened with other managers in the past, that maybe you can stick with Man City and say that Mancini was always going to win him something, but Mark Hughes was not going to. Brendan Rodgers is another example of that. So for me, I look now and I think that we need an elite level manager. And people say to me, who are you going to get? I don't want De Zerbi. I don't want Iraola. I don't want Pochettino. Why? Because they're Arteta. They're no different. They've done well at their jobs. They've done projects like Poch did at Tottenham, like Bournemouth's probably doing with Iraola, like Marcus Silva's doing at Fulham, like Thomas Frank's doing at Brentford, like De Zerbi did at Brighton and is now continuing to do with Marseille. But none of them have won anything. So I need winners coming into my football club. And I look at the likes of Diego Simeone, who at the moment is struggling to win stuff himself with Atletico Madrid. Maybe he needs another move. Maybe he needs another challenge. I look at managers like Carlo Ancelotti. I look at managers like Antonio Conte, who's going to go and win a Napoli the Serie A in his first year with Lukaku and Billy Gilmore and Scott McTominay. What phase is he in? You know? Then you look at the scenario of who you're going to get. Well, Klopp left. Liverpool thought, God, Arne Slot, really? That's going to be a 5-year process. No, it's not. 1 year, boom, done. So there are managers out there, Sophie. There are managers out there. If Mikel leaves, which he will do one day, whether it's next year or in 10 years' time, we do not have a funeral because the stadium still stands. The club still stands. The fans still go. We go on and we move on to the next man. And we say, thank you very much for getting us up there challenging. You weren't able to get us across the line, but this guy now will. So if Simone Inzaghi comes in, or if Hansi Flick, or if the next manager that people want is Xabi Alonso, whoever the hell it is, just shout another name. Oh, they're all going to different jobs. They might be. Xabi Alonso is going to go Real Madrid. Carlo Ancelotti's going to go to Brazil. Go and get the next manager that you think can get us across the line. Look, it's going to be Mikel. He's going to stay here, but it's time to deliver now. He has to prove that he can get us across the line. And trust me, when it's an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup, I'll be cool with that. Some people don't want that, so. Some people are like, well, we're just back to winning FA Cups though with Wenger. When are we going to win the majority of it? When are we going to get a major? I know people that have said, I'll take a League Cup and he's fine. I also know people that say, if he gets a League Cup, I want him sacked because he hasn't won us a League or a Prem or a Champions League. Whereas for me, people call me negative, but I'm quite happy for him to win a Carabao Cup first and then go and build on that. He can't even do that. So I need him to get across the line next season. And for me, the bare minimum expectation, I said this earlier, is to be competitive in the league in terms of challenging for the title and winning trophies alongside it. That's what he's got to do for me. Minimum expectation next season. It's not come 8th and get a Carabao Cup like some people think I want. It's not come 2nd and win nothing. It's winning a trophy, whether it's Champions League. I'd love it to be Champions League. Love it to be the Premier League. If not, it's one of the domestics. But if you don't win the Premier League title, you have to win a trophy alongside competing for that league. That's what he has to do next season for me.
Yeah, and I don't think it's unreasonable to request that. You and I had conversations on here and on our little WhatsApp group and stuff where we were like, I would have loved to have won that League Cup. So these players get a taste of what it likes to what it's like to win. You know, they win that and they go, shit, if it feels this good winning the League Cup, can you imagine what it feels like winning the Premier League? They don't know how to win together yet. They know how to compete. They haven't closed the deal. They don't know how to close. And it has to start somewhere, but we're shooting for the moon before we land on the stars. Yeah. And that is a little bit of a cultural issue and problem. And I just wanted to put this Furley Arsenal, more poison, disgusting, keep pumping out the negativity, Sophia. Firstly, the only person that really calls me Sophia is my mum when I was in trouble, okay? And I don't feel like I'm in trouble right now. And I just wanted to end on this. This goes back to the videos I've done. Stop telling Arsenal fans how to support their club. Stop calling people disgusting. Stop calling people toxic for having an opinion. No one's killing anyone here. No one's hurting anyone here. All right. And, you know, Dan speaks his mind and he will tell you what he thinks. It's his opinion. It's my opinion. It's Harry's opinion, you know, and I love having different voices on the show. So we get a different perspective. Not everyone agrees. That's the beauty about debate and discussion and conversation. And I just think that when we continually point the finger at each other for having an opinion, doesn't help the fan base, doesn't help anyone. And the outside world can see that. They can see that we're back to nitpicking each other. This is a critical time for the club. This is, they say again, the biggest summer ever. And I've defended the owners on this show. I won't defend them if they don't do what's right in the summer. Absolutely not, I will. Why can't you say things as you see them, even though you may have defended someone before or supported someone before? You know, what we do here is we talk about the now. And for me, I don't want to talk about the season anymore. What happens now is what's most important. So let's just please also allow people to have their opinions and their thoughts. Dan, let everyone know what you're up to, what you're doing, what you're coming up. And congratulations on reaching 40,000 subscribers, my friend, from me and the squaddies. Very well done to you.
Nah, big up to you guys, man. Big up to Sophie and all of the squaddies. Even the ones that hate my guts that are in here. Big up to you for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, man. Make sure you come over and follow me if you do want to listen to more of my panel shows. Football's 12th man. Yeah, it's hit 40k, which is mad. I don't think we're too far off 41,000 now. So big up to everyone that does support. There's a lot of you in here as well that do support and show love over on my channel as well. So big up to that. Make sure you get Soph up to the next target. Hit like and subscribe, people. And big up to the real ones in the chat, man. Let's keep saying it how it is. Let's keep spitting facts. And let's keep giving our opinions on how we see Arsenal winning trophies, because that's all we want, man. We all see it differently. That's what I will say. Some of us think we're going to win everything under this guy this season. He doesn't need to buy anyone. Some people think that he's overachieved and it's mad. Some people think that he should have won a trophy by now. We're all different, man. All different with it, but we don't need to get personal. Don't have to fall out. We're all gooners. Everyone wants to win. That's the way it is, man. But big up for having
exactly.
me.
Oh, man, thanks a lot. And I put your handles up. You know where to find Dan as well. And yes, help us get to 18. We got 2,000 new subscribers this season, and it wasn't the easiest season for us. So we're really appreciative of that. And thanks, Dan, for your support as always. Squaddies, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Tell your friends about it. Super Dan, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, Squaddies, at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The The next stop is Highbury Squad.